It's NFL offseason, but we all know here at the Star there's really no offseason. It's sort of more like an on-off season. So let's talk about quarterback Dak Prescott. How can the Cowboys optimize Dak's play next season?
Part of the optimization of Dak is about the finances. And of course, they've already made one move with him with the flip of the switch. That is a non-negotiated, non-sacrifice. We're just taking your money out of that pocket, out of Bree's pocket over here, and we're putting it in Bree's pocket over here. That's all that is.
And it frees up some money.
There you go. It's a bookkeeping thing. And then could come next a brand new contract extension that really does change his finances, presumably makes him richer.
Right.
Of course, the Cowboys would hope that they can work together and still have enough pieces of the pie to build a roster around him. The biggest optimization of Dak, though, and I think there's a misunderstanding of this, the head coach, Mike McCarthy, did not make the coming change to the West Coast offense, which they work on every day in here, installing, teaching, learning. He did not do that for himself. If McCarthy was built that way, he would have done it for himself when he got here. He is doing it because he thinks not only is it the best way and the best thing for him to teach, but it's the best way for Dak Prescott to get to the next level. And if you look, without trying to pretend like we're coaches, if you kind of look at the XEOZ history of it, it's a horizontal passing game. So when people say, oh, he's going to be throwing the ball 60% of the time on first down, but they're going to be 4-yard passes going sideways. And then if it's done right, the way Jerry Rice and the 49ers, for instance, did it, John Taylor, the other receiver, they catch the 4-yard pass, and then sometimes they go 74 more yards for a touchdown. That would be good. that can work. So there's a simplicity to it. But the best thing is, it's the best thing that Mike McCarthy teaches. It's the best thing that he does. And he wouldn't shove it down the throat of a quarterback or a group of players for whom it didn't fit.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Dak Prescott was among one of the contract restructures here done at the Dallas Cowboys. So does that mean that the Cowboys can go shopping now?
Not exactly. And in fact, we're seeing that in the early moments of free agency. Monday, the opening up of the legal tampering window. But even before that, the Cowboys and all the other teams had an ability to negotiate and sign their own guys, which
they didn't do.
This team didn't do. Unless you want to count Tony Pollard, which counts in its own way, or count the kicker Tristan Vizcaino, which counts not at all. My understanding is, and the way we reported is, even as of Sunday, they had made no offers to anybody. So I don't know who in this building, or if the media is just making a mistake, but somebody's hoodwinking somebody. That there was no early movement. Oh, wait, let's hurry up and get something done before 11 o'clock. It simply didn't happen. In fact, it happened quite the opposite. Connor McGovern being the first Cowboy out the door, and there will be more. Dalton Schultz should be out the door. There is not a stampede on the part of this front office to go do Leighton Vander Esch or Donovan Wilson. We don't know if they're out the door yet. And there will be lesser lights. There is obviously a way. We talk about this a lot. Can you get the same guy, that same $8 million guy for $2 million? Well, that's fine. Then get the $2 million guy. But that's a challenge to do it as often as the Cowboys are asking themselves to do it.
Let's continue to talk NFL free agency. What do you think is the Dallas Cowboys' biggest needs to fill this free agency?
If they do this right, by the way, and if other teams do it right, in my opinion, free agency is for need, and then the draft is BAA, as I call it. The professionals call it BPA, and I'm no professional. But BAA is best available athlete. BPA is best player available. If you always try to adhere to that, you cannot go wrong. Because what you're getting in a veteran player in free agency is you know exactly what he is. You know what he can do. He's got a track record.
That need that you need.
And he's an adult. He's done it for 3 years or 5 years or 4 years. Whereas in the draft, it's still a dart throw.
Potential.
Very much so. And the Cowboys are not making any secret of the need for what Stephen Jones called a playmaker with juice. There continues to be this rumor about this big move they're working on, and I think it's bogus. I don't think they're working on anything that's any more extraordinary than they would do any other year or than other teams do. In fact, I think they're working on things that are less extraordinary than some other teams are doing, given the fact, for instance, that Jalen Ramsey just moved in a big deal. A deal that Cowboys Nation's going,
wait a minute.
a third round pick, and he's $18 million a year? What would be the problem with that? So the Cowboys, there is a lack of proactivity here, but eventually, I think since they've announced it, we should probably hold their feet to the fire a little bit. They say offensive playmaker with juice to be added. That sounds like a wide receiver to me.
Right. So the Cowboys have a huge need for a offensive playmaker with juice, says the team. Odell Beckham Jr. works out in front of a dozen teams and by all accounts looks healthy. And back to Odell. Are the Cowboys involved with OBJ?
I continue to be skeptical, first of all, about the 100%. What I've seen, and what you and I have seen, is 6 seconds of video. What they saw, hopefully, was 60 minutes of video.
You would think.
Yeah, so I'm a little, I need, if I'm a team, I need way more than that. That's a start. I'm also pondering why the Cowboys didn't go.
Yeah.
I bounced this off you. Well, we already know him, we're comfortable with him, we talked to his mother. What does that have to do with getting on your private jet and taking an hour to go watch a guy, figuratively, right down the street? Why not?
Well, and that's the weird thing to me is because he is coming off of an injury, you would want to see him as recently as possible, rather than whenever they saw him. What was that, in January?
December. I'm trying to gather all the intelligence I can get. I just think it was weird, and maybe eventually there'll be a revelation. Maybe we'll find out what the thinking was. But in the draft, you're looking under every stone,
right?
And I, this organization's been really good about it. Oh, there's a kid that is in Baton Rouge, and he's got a reputation for being a troublemaker. This team will send the Green Beret to Baton Rouge and do an investigation, like for real.
Yeah, like go down to the local soda shop and be like, hey, how is he?
Absolutely true.
Right.
They're calling, trainers call trainers. Guys are calling people's teachers in high school, which is what you should do.
Right.
You're going into multi-million-dollar business with these guys. You should know each other. How can the Cowboys possibly think they know everything there is to know about Odell Beckham Jr., including a workout that they didn't see? There's video of it. I assume he sent video to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. So they have their video of it, but it's really weird to me that you're in the information gathering business, and on this one guy that wants $20 million that your owner is hyper focused on, you're going, we're good. we know plenty. I don't get it.
Right. That makes sense to me. Let's talk about the NFL draft coming up quick, and of course there's some prospects that have really risen to the top. The Cowboys have the 26th pick. Where do you think they'll go? You think they have a specific position they want to fill?
As we've discussed, if you go into a draft and say, I'm going to fill a position, you're making a mistake. You should go into the draft and just get a player.
Right.
And if all things are equal and it's a tie, and you don't need a safety and you do need a wide receiver, good. That's a good tiebreaker. But wide receiver and cornerback are the two things that have been most conventionally talked about, and they make the most sense. There is, though, this loud buzz about tight end.
Okay.
And it's everywhere now. And whether it's Dane Brugler, who's our friend from The Athletic, who's extremely good when it comes to scouting, and kind of has his ear on what's going on with the Cowboys. He's saying tight end, and Brian Broaddus from The Fan, the former Cowboy scout, he's saying, I think, to some degree, tight end. And I don't know if this is just kind of an echo chamber thing, where one person threw it out there and now everybody's throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I don't exactly get it. I'm saying goodbye, most likely, to Dalton Schultz, in part because I have the two kids in Jake Ferguson and the legend of Peyton Hendershot. Why do I need a third kid?
Right.
Maybe we're overrating those two guys, but I don't believe so.
Right.
We'll know more as we get closer. But it is a mistake, I will say this, to be zeroing in on a tight end in early March, when the draft is weeks and weeks and weeks away and you haven't even built your board. It might be a true rumor, but it's a weird rumor.
Before we go, Fish, is there any whispers that you're hearing around the star right now? There's a lot going on, I know.
There is a lot of stuff going on. I think that the other quarterback, and we talk a lot about the backup quarterback is like the 12th starter.
Right.
He doesn't play enough all the time, but when he does,
it's important.
It's awfully important. In fact, when he plays, he becomes the most important starter.
Right.
They have not made any great overtures to Cooper Rush.